Ladies and gentlemen,
Good evening.
Are you ready?
Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Deal Room Podcast. Join us as we bring you the inside scoop on business sales and acquisitions. Get across trends in the area and hear the industry's best recount their real-life tips, traps, and experiences. Now, here's your host, Joanna Oakey.
Hi, it's Joanna Oakey here, and welcome back to the Deal Room Podcast, a podcast proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. Now, today we have another captivating episode of our State of the Market series. We're about to dive deep into the pulse of various industries, from manufacturing to medical, dental, and many more. Now, why is understanding the state of the market so crucial? Simple. Understanding the state of the market is the key to unlocking endless opportunities for growth, gaining valuable insights into the competitive landscape, deciphering consumer buying patterns, and, most importantly, formulating effective risk management strategies. So, whether you're a budding entrepreneur or business owner seeking your next big break, or a seasoned business owner determined to stay ahead of the game, this series is your compass, guiding you through the ever-changing tides of the market. Now, get ready to decode the trends and gain a strategic advantage that will propel your business to new heights. And stay tuned as we dive into another State of the Market episode. Here we go. Jenny, hello. Welcome to the Deal Room Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Joanna.
My absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Now, how about we kick it off? Obviously, today we're talking about the state of the market in buying motels and accommodation businesses. But why don't you just give us a quick background before we get started on that? How did you get started in this industry, and how long have you been in the industry? Like, what was the reasoning? What's the attraction in this particular subset of business broking?
I think it was more, a series of different points in my career that led me to where I am today. But when I kicked off, out of school, I went straight into sales and marketing. So it has always been something that I've done. Started off in, I'm going to show my age here, but started off in the time when the personal computer was starting to have a big influence on business. So I spent, dozen plus years focused on software technology, how it impacts business, and dealing with a lot of large businesses in that sense. Moved on to a sea change. We had kids, that decided that I had a bit of a liking for real estate, so did my full real estate agent's license, came back to Victoria, got back into real estate. I live in the beautiful town of Bright up in northeast Victoria. Can imagine a better place to live, and actually focused on property management. So I had holiday accommodation experience in Queensland, came back to Victoria, continued on with that, spent most of the years that my kids were growing up working for a real estate agent. And then the opportunity came around when I empty nested and I had more time, and, late nights or weekend work weren't going to be such an issue. And was lucky enough to get into selling or broking businesses in the area of tourism and accommodation. So all of those sort of steps led me to where I've ended up today, which is just a fabulous niche to work in.
I love it. And why is it such a good niche? What do you love about working in this niche area?
You get to travel to some beautiful towns. We work in northeast Victoria, so very much tourist towns. You get to meet really lovely people in this area. It's not all about the numbers. People get into motels and even caravan parks for the lifestyle as well as the the building wealth. So there's a lot of opportunity to speak to real people. You don't traditionally have to fight the hierarchy to get through to the people that you need to. It's still quite an old-fashioned way of selling, building relationships, which is lovely. yeah, you get to travel in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Well, absolutely. You're selling it for all of us. I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay. All right. So how is selling businesses in this industry different, do you think, than other types of businesses?
I don't know that the fundamentals are different at all. They're scalable, of course, and, different markets have, different needs when people are either setting up to sell or whether they're looking to buy. But fundamentally, the elements are all the same. I just think you have a really good opportunity as a broker to get to understand your purchaser and your vendor really well. And there is very much a personal element to it. It can be very much an emotional way of selling. It's not like you're a widget producer. You're a people business. If you're going to get into this game, you need to be a people person, and your clientele, your guests, they're people too. So it's just a nice way to get to know people and understand what their objectives are, selling or buying.
Okay, all right. So, but I mean, there are some things that are different to other industries, I guess. You're dealing with, the premises, for example, are far more important, obviously, because they're the core asset, aren't they, to many other businesses. And that comes with its own challenges, I guess. What's your thoughts about that, in terms of differences?
If you're looking from a purchasing point of view, you can talk about all the fundamentals to what you're looking for when you're buying a business. And of course, there's this wonderful thing called setting up a deal team that somebody in legal once taught me that term.
Love it, Jenny, love it.
So, you do have all those standard processes to go through. You want to make sure you've got the right accountant on board. You want to make sure you've got the right solicitor on board. You want to make sure you've got the right financiers on board. But then when it comes specifically to the property itself, so in this game you can be a freehold and business owner, or if you're a leaseholder, then you've got that relationship with the landlord. So talking about leaseholders, they very much have to understand their responsibilities in the business, what applies to them as the leaseholder. And some leaseholders can be surprised at the, how far their responsibilities go when it comes to the fixtures, the carpets and things like that. So there is a lot of education to understand what's your responsibility as a leasehold, and then on the other side of the coin, what's your responsibility, what's the responsibility of a landlord. And that's where having done your due diligence on understanding who your landlord is, how they respond to the leaseholder, who's potentially, could be just the tenant before you or the vendor, and doing the work required to get that understood as well, because I can reflect on many, many years in property management, and the relationships between a tenant and a landlord are critical. And the most success for both parties is when there is a very open and supportive relationship between both parties. We always hear about the bad stuff that goes wrong, but it is minor. But you don't want to be in that position yourself if you're investing a lot of money in buying a business, when you are reliant also on what that freehold owner is willing to do in supporting you in your business. Purchasers can go a long way to getting that established before they buy. I consider that very much part of the due diligence. You really need to hammer your broker to get as much information as you can about what is the current relationship, and then relying on your legal team to check the lease out for you, make sure that, the terms and conditions of that lease are going to support you for the next 20, 25 years, which is standard lease terms if you're going to be a leaseholder.
And if we're talking about sellers going to market, are there any sort of classic issues that you've seen in failure to prepare, whether it's, with the lease and the way the lease stands, issues with the lease or otherwise in this industry?
Yeah, look, I think we probably, like a lot of other industries, sometimes when you are an owner-operator, you eventually get to the point where you're tired and you want to go to market, and, not allowing the appropriate amount of time to set up to sell. You really, really, really have to set up to sell. And just like a purchaser, a seller really needs to have their deal team together and get all the advice they can as far as setting up to sell. You want to make sure that your property is presented in the best way possible, because it is an emotional buy. Still, someone drives up to that property and they want to see that it's neat and tidy. They don't want to see water leaks. They don't want to see gardens that are unruly. They don't want to see potholes, in the car park, and all those first impressions things that become very, very important for a buyer. And the one thing to remember about a buyer in this game is that it is not just someone that wants to build wealth. It can be the person who wants to buy their home with their business. So traditionally there's a owner residence, and that residence needs to be presented well, because the buyer needs to feel like they can go there and make a home for their kids, or they can get away and have a nice place to live. It's not all about just making money in this game. So there's a lot that a seller can do through first impressions. There's a lot a seller can do to understand the tax implications of how it's best that they structure their deal for sale, because I always get asked about, tax implications, and I'm not a tax agent, and I'm not going to, so you've got to have that already set up. You've got to have a lease in place where you have continuously, over the time of you operating, if you're selling as a leasehold, you've got to remember that it's a depreciating asset. So you want to have a valued asset when you go to sale. So you've got to keep looking at your renewal terms and the options, and, what are the costs of getting additional years on your lease. Don't get to market and have a broker come along and say, you haven't got enough lease on it, you're not going to get the money you want, because there's not the time for the purchaser to get the return on investment. So, stupid things like making sure that you've had a PPSR check done. I've had a multi-million-dollar deal that came to a grinding halt because the seller had, a bank had, they registered on the securities register, and it took so long to get the registration released, and it was from 15 years ago, and it didn't even relate to the current business. So simple things like that can just be done in the beginning, so that you've got a smooth path to sale.
Okay, well, why don't we dig into it then? Market trends. What are you seeing in the market at the moment? What's the market looking like?
The market, as far as buying and selling at the moment, is no doubt impacted by the current interest rate issues. So, that's affecting, commercial rates just as much as it's, affecting home buyers. It also creates a little bit of uncertainty with people, their confidence in going forward. And I think in our game, when a lot of tourist-based businesses are funded with discretionary spend, you need to have that confidence that people are going to keep coming back. So looking at occupancy rates, what is the current vendor doing to maintain their occupancy rate? Are they in a niche market? There's loads of towns that are still thriving, and it may well be that the smaller towns, or people may well choose to just get in their car and drive, as opposed to having the money to go overseas. So it's a shame that the market forces do create uncertainty, but there is still a lot of opportunity for people to get into really good and sustainable businesses. And in our game, occupancy can prove that. So there's nothing stopping you seeing what the last 6 months has done, what happened before COVID, what has happened since COVID. There's a lot of information there that you can gather if you're looking to buy.
Fantastic. And what makes an accommodation business that's like hot in demand at the moment?
I think there's a lot to be said for niching. There's a lot to be said for how you understand and use technology. There's a lot of opportunity. From a technology point of view, there is a lot of fear by operators in how to use technology. And, a lot of moteliers are generational and they haven't come up with technology. So they're not necessarily maximising the bottom line. You don't even have to increase your occupancy. You can use technology to get repeat guests. You can use technology to go around your booking agencies. They charge a big percentage of every booking. And as an operator, you can get 15% back on your bottom line straight away if somebody books with you directly. So there's a lot you can use technology for. There's a lot of opportunity to continue to repeat market to your guests. It's cheaper to keep a guest than it is to go out and find a new one. So start to love who your guests are. But I am so passionate about taking the older style motels, for which they're everywhere. They're built in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. But using that to your advantage, don't be put off by the mission brown paint or the brown brickwork or the blonde brickwork of the 90s. You can really make a motel such fun for your guests if you just play off each of the decades that you get into. And you can, we might cringe at the 80s, or I definitely can cringe at the 80s, but the younger generation find it so much fun. And, there's even Netflix shows about taking on older motels and revitalising them, bringing them into the modern era, but playing off all of the quirks that they may have. And then that gives you a brilliant marketing opportunity. It also gives the younger generation loads of opportunity for Instagram photos, whatever it might be. And, there's a motel up on the Murray where they literally took the worst motel on the street and they went, okay, we're doing a Bali thing. And they bought in, they did spend money on it. So I'm not saying that what they did was necessarily cheap. You don't have to bring palm trees in. But they created such a beautiful theme, but very retro and reminding us of the 60s, the beautiful pinks and the aquas. And they did up the pool, so it had all those really reflective black and white lounges and things like that people just love. But at the same time, they built a pool room where you could get out of the pool and you could party in the pool room. It had a full kitchen. So it appealed to people coming along there with their families, having a pool, being in a beautiful tourist town, but such fun. They could really do something fun and niche it. And I know their guests will just want to keep going back. It's personal, it's fun. In Bright, we had a recent leaseholder that came in, and her passion was food. And she didn't open a restaurant, but what she's done is she's created a market where her guests can get beautiful charcuterie boards and get access to the beautiful wines in this valley. And she's a little bit high up off the river, and got all the umbrellas and the lounges and the tables, and again, a brilliant marketing opportunity. Her photos look beautiful. Everyone wants to see beautiful food and how it's laid out and dressed tables. So there's so much. If you've got a passion and you can apply that to your motel, I think you can do so much in this game. You've just got to come along with passion and creativity, really. Or a side hustle. If you've got a side hustle, add that into your motel.
Oh, I love it. What are some examples of some side hustles you've seen incorporated?
Particularly in this area, because this valley and, the surrounding valleys are very much access to the snowfields. So, as an operator, you can have already in the guest rooms. You can have their skis ready, you can have their snow chains ready, you can have the kids' toboggans ready, you can have access to tours, getting local buses to get you up the mountain. You can, there's an operator locally who came into it from a bus tour company, and they've got a small bus. So they're only a small motel, but what they can do is book it out for their bus tours. And then, guests roll out the door, they get in the bus and can go anywhere in the valleys here to see the beautiful region, drink, eat, and roll back home without ever having to get in their car. There's lots of opportunities if you just can pick it.
Fantastic. Well, and my last question, I just want to talk about the valuation approach to accommodation businesses. What's the usual valuation approach, and what sort of creates, I guess, a standout in terms of, valuation, if you can talk about that?
Yeah, I think, so we work in both areas. We've got the leasehold, so just the business component of running a motel. That's been fairly consistent for years, in that you're probably looking at around, if you're keeping to that 3.5 times multiple of adjusted net profit, it's a fairly simple, calculation. And again, depending on where your occupancy is, what is the opportunity to grow the business, the presentation of the business, does a purchaser have to walk in and upgrade all the beds and all the mattresses and the floor coverings? So there's always going to be a range based on, the overall presentation of the business. From a freehold point of view, that's very much dependent on the market, or where you are, and how likely it is that there are market forces that could affect you at any time. The ranges can be quite, the difference between selling a business in, say, Bright, which is quite a booming tourist area, to a business that perhaps only gets travellers on one of the major highways, you would have very different approaches to that. But it could be anywhere from 8 or 9% return on investment right up into the high teens. So there are a lot of factors that will go into that, and obviously how good is the structural side of your freehold property as well.
Fantastic. Well, look, Jenny, thank you so much for our run through the state of the market at the moment for the motel and accommodation industry.
Thank you for having me.
Any last parting words to our listeners, and how do they engage with you, I guess?
Well, certainly they can call me at any time. So my number is 0419 009 033. Or it is Jenny, Jenny, at betterbusinessbrokers.com.au. My biggest piece of advice is give yourself time, get your team set up, and go into it with your eyes wide open.
Love it. What brilliant advice, Jenny. And thank you so much. Such an interesting insight into this particular segment of the market. Really fantastic speaking to you, Jenny, and thank you so much for being a guest on the Deal Room podcast.
Thank you, Joanna. I'm thrilled. Thank you.
Wonderful. You have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Deal Room podcast. We hope you're now primed for your next deal with these pointers and have enjoyed these fascinating insights. Now, if you'd like more information about this topic, then head over to our website at thedealroompodcast.com, where you'll be able to download a transcript of this episode, as well as access any contact details and any other additional information we referred to in today's podcast. Now, if you'd like to get in contact with our guests today and the services they offer, you can go ahead and check out our show notes for a link right through to them and their details. You can also book in directly with our legal eagles at Aspect Legal if you'd like to soundboard your next steps, discuss a legal question, or find out more how we can assist, whether that's with buying or selling a business, or perhaps somewhere in between. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the Deal Room podcast on your favourite podcast player to get notifications whenever a new episode is out. We'd also love to hear your feedback, so please leave us a review and rating if you're already one of our subscribers, or even if you're listening to this podcast for the very first time. Every review helps our team produce valuable content for you. Well, thanks again for listening in. You've been listening to Joanna Oakey and the Deal Room podcast, a podcast proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. See you next time. Aspect Legal has a number of great services that help businesses prepare for a sale or acquisition, to help them prepare in advance and to get transaction ready. We've also got a range of services to help guide businesses through the sale and acquisitions process. We work with clients both big and small and have different types of services depending on size and complexity. We provide a free consultation to discuss your proposed sale or acquisition. So see our show notes on how to book a time to speak with us, or head over to our website at aspectlegal.com.au.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.
Thanks for listening to the Deal Room podcast. To find out more about this episode and other episodes in the series, check out the show notes or head over to our website at thedealroompodcast.com.au.